When I counsel intending couples, there's this question I like to ask. I say, why? Why do you want to get married? And more often than not, the most common answer is because we're in love. And they say it with, this smirk on their face, like, duh, like, can't you see we're in love? Aww. And then, she goes, I love him. I really love him. And then he goes, I love her, in the deep voice. And I say, oh, aw. So what does that mean? Because honestly, when it comes to marriage and that decision to spend the rest of your life with, it's not rice and beans. It's not bolly and fish or bolly and, what do you like bolly with? Granuts. It's not gari and water. It is serious work. And love is just not enough for you to scale through. Let me tell you the reason why you guys are all in that because I love her, because I love him stage. Because you are in the first stage of emotional love, right? Emotional attraction. You are in that first stage. There's a second stage, right? When the music fades away. When the music fades and all is slipped away. When there's no more butterflies in your belly when you see him walking down the hallway. Gary Chapman in his famous book, Things I Wish I Knew Before I Got Married, he calls it the tingles, when the tingles are no longer there. What's going to keep you afloat in marriage? Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lade Olabi. On today's episode of Face Friday, we're going to be talking about what happens when the music fades away, right? And in essence, we're going to be talking about marriage and love, this whole idea of love. And specifically in this particular episode, I'm going to be talking about the second stage of emotional love, attraction. The second stage, after the tingles and the butterflies, what happens? So this is a continuation of the Wife in Waiting series. If this is your first time on my channel, I make videos about family, faith, marriage, and relationships. This particular series is called The Wife in Waiting, and it's based off of the Bible verse, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 22, that says that he who finds a wife finds a good thing. So you're supposed to be a good thing before you're found. And all of this information, this series, the purpose of this series is to make sure that, you are a good thing ready to be found. Without any further ado, like I like to do on Face Friday episodes, I like to define the terms. And on this particular episode, I'm going to be defining two terms. They are common terms, but just as a matter of reference and emphasis, let's define them. The first one is marriage, right? What is marriage? It's the legal union or joining of a man and a woman in holy matrimony, right? Marriage is also a covenant. It's a lifelong commitment. And I like to say that marriage is hard work. You must put in work to make sure that your marriage is successful. You can't just, marriage is not just something that you get once, you purchase it on the first day and it's good forever. It lasts forever. Marriage is not Nokia 3310. Yes, so marriage is not all about that. Marriage is hard work and it requires commitment. It requires patience. I'd like to think of marriage as a seed. Your wedding day, just imagine a beautiful tree. When you see a tree or a flower, or a plant, a beautiful plant, you're attracted by the beauty, how fragile the rose petals are, how it's so beautiful and so tender and just so complicated, but yet so beautiful. That's how marriage looks like on the outside, but your wedding day is like the day you put the seed in the ground. You need to water it. You need to make sure there's sunlight. You need to make sure you are keeping it away from pests and all of those things. So for me, marriage is hard work. That's my own definition of marriage. It's like this. Hard work. You need to put in a lot of work. The other thing I would like to define is love, right? The dictionary says that love is an intense feeling of deep affection. Love is a great interest or pleasure in something or someone. If you have an interest in someone, I love the person. If you have an interest in something, I love soccer. I love Manchester United. I love Chelsea. I love Liverpool. Those are some of the things that you have a great interest in. So having a great interest in something is the definition of love or a strong feeling of affection. But you see, this definition gives you an idea that love it's not something that lasts forever. It's only the love of God that can last forever. And maybe the love of your mother, because there are even mothers that will curse their children and disown them. So it's only the love of God that can last forever. You can't say because somebody say, oh, I love her, and she goes, I love you. And then you base your life, your lifelong commitment of marriage, your hard work of marriage on just that. So today I'm going to be talking about commitment essentially, and this second stage of romantic love. Why is it important that you pay attention to the second stage when the music has faded away, when the tingles are no longer there, when the butterflies have died because their lifespan is short anyways? What happens after? That first stage of emotional love, I like to call it, when you are on the high horse. You are on a horse. Come on. You are whipping the horse. Phew. Hey. The wind is in your face. You are going, you are on a high. You are enjoying yourself. That's that first stage. And it can last for the maybe first few months of marriage. For some people, maybe the first day, maybe first week. It's different, peculiar to every couple. But just imagine what the experience or the feeling of being on a high horse is like. A feeling of pleasure, a feeling of intense pleasure where like you're on a high. So that's the first stage, right? The second stage is your post-horse stage. You have now come down from the horse, you have finished the ride, and the realization of what you have entered into has now occurred. You're no longer in the honeymoon phase. You see, let me use my example. I like to use my example. When we first got married, my husband was on leave from work for about 3 weeks, and we just had a blast. I mean, it's not like we didn't have arguments. We had arguments about who's washing the pot, and if you watched last week's episode there, you know what I'm talking about. We did have arguments, but more than the arguments, what now started to happen that was even deeper than arguments is I started feeling unloved soon after he went back to work. I started feeling unloved. It's important that you take this episode seriously, because if I had access to such information as this, I may not have told PJ you don't love me anymore, which I did. And now I see that it was just a matter of ignorance. So what happened? Why did I tell him I didn't love him anymore? The truth is that we speak different languages when it comes to love, how we express love, how we interpret love, how we receive love. And I know that a lot of you watching this already know and have heard about love languages. 5 Love Languages is a book written also by Gary Chapman. I really highly recommend it for you guys to read that book if you haven't read the book. He came up with that book as a matter of research as to why couples in their early stage of marriage get to points where, when the music has faded away and when the tingles are no longer there, why do they get to this point where they just suddenly, one person just suddenly feels like you don't love me anymore because you're not doing this or that or that. So you need to understand the language your partner is speaking. You also need to understand the language you're speaking. See, the thing is, your love language can change. For me personally, when we were in a dating relationship, my love language was words of affirmation. And this probably maybe because we were in a long distance relationship. I wasn't really expecting gifts because PJ was, a missionary in a village called Ikata in Rivers State. So I wasn't expecting him to try to send me gifts from Ikata to Pennsylvania. I wasn't expecting that. So gifts out of it. Acts of service. We're very far away. There's practically nothing he could do for me. I remember there was a time I had one paper I needed to write. I asked him to help me do research. It turned out awful because I didn't use the information he found, but I knew he did something, acts of service. So it didn't work out. Acts of service did not work out. The other love languages, it didn't really fit into the dynamics of our relationship at the time. So at that time, it was words of affirmation. And if pastors are like wordsmiths, like they always know the right thing to say at the right time. And they are men of God, spirit-led, spirit-filled. So a lot of times, I would just be like Mofo when he's talking to me on the phone. So words of affirmation was my love language at the time, right? And then when we got married, it changed completely in the first year. And if you watched last week's episode, you understand why it changed. My love language now became acts of service. If you love me, take out the trash. If you love me, do the dish. Acts of service in my first, year of marriage was my love language. I didn't need word of affirmation anymore because I know you love me. So, but now, this love me that you have been telling me on the phone, show me that you love me. So it changed. And it changed again because we got to the point where I started saying, you don't love me anymore. And PJ at that time, it was already like, so do you want me to kill myself? I washed the semo pot yesterday. Do you understand? Because that's the language. The language is act of service. But I took out the trash this morning. I said, you don't love me anymore. It's my socks anyway. You don't love me anymore. But I washed the bathroom. And even me at the time, I didn't realize that my love language had changed or was pressing more on one than the other. At that time, my new love language, because see, the time when I wanted acts of service, we were both at home together. He was on vacation from work. He was on leave because we had just gotten married. We were seeing each other. I love you, Dovey. I love you. I love you. In the early morning, you drink tea. I love you. Oh, right? When he started working, when he went back to work, now he was so immersed in his work. He would help me once in a while, but he was he was married to his work. Then I realized that my love language is quality time. So it didn't matter if because he'll be thinking in his head, I need to get home early so that when we eat dinner, I will have enough energy to help out with the dishes. Because, at the time, that's how he could communicate love to me that I was interpreting. But since he had started going to work, he didn't realize that it had changed for me. I didn't realize too. I just know that one day I told him, I know you don't love me anymore. Right? And I really meant it because I don't remember, I was just like really needing him, but he wasn't there. He was like always at work. PJ was such a workaholic. He was a professor, he was teaching theology. Like if he's not writing notes, he's marking scripts. If he's not marking scripts, he's going to the office at 2 a.m. He would literally go to the office at 2 a.m., come back at 5 a.m., go back to work at 7 a.m. Like, is that even human? Who does that? They're not asking you to come to work, but he's just going because he needs to study or because he needs to pray. And I just, So why did you marry me? You married me to frustrate me. You married me to put me in your house. I told him, I said, am I a chair? Am I a TV? Am I a furniture that you will not have my time? You see, things had changed at that point, and I was speaking a totally different language. So it's important that you know that different seasons will come in marriage. Love is not enough. The music will fade away. You won't look attractive again. I remember when I'm telling PJ, the picture of PJ in my mind before we got married. By the way, if you don't know my husband at all, when I keep saying PJ is Pastor Juan, so just let's get that if this is your first time. And I hope you subscribe to the channel. My picture of who this man is when we were dating was this, really nice youth pastor that would always wear nice suits, osha prapra. He was always kabashing, on the altar, spitting out fire. See, but when we got married, guys, I would see him in his rickety singlet, holding semo pots. He didn't look attractive. There was nothing to create any butterfly. See, when a pot of semo has not been washed, the thing is to drive me cuckoos. There's nothing attractive about that. So at that point, there's no, but you love me now, wash it. It doesn't work that way too. So you guys get the point. These things are extremely important. What is going to keep you afloat? What is going to remind you of commitment or help you with commitment is understanding the language this person is speaking part-time. And it does change. That's the purpose of this video. I want you people to know that it changes. It's not now that you say, oh, he used to buy me flour, oh, Maryland cookies, oh, chocolate, oh, biscotti. I mean, what's the name of that biscuit? Oh, he buys me this. Oh, he buys me this. We always have to go for Cold Stone once a week, and to you, that's your love language. You feel like when you get married, that's what you're going to be doing and it will last. Good luck to you, but you must know that it does change. And not just for you, it changes for him as well. And you need to be able to be open to have those conversations, be reasonable enough to come to a consensus as to what exactly are we doing part-time. Just as a matter of emphasis and summary, there are 5 love languages and you should know them. There is words of affirmation, there is acts of service, quality time, buying of gifts, And then physical touch. When you get married, you're going to realize that your husband's love language, this is a free bonus point. It will automatically turn to physical touch. Not necessarily public display of affection. But when you guys are there, he's just always going to be wanting to be like chewing gum and like, and you know what it will always lead to in the first few weeks, months of marriage. So blessed be you, my sister, but please be understanding, because it's not forever. That's lovey-dovey, touch. They can't just sit on their own. It's just like, yeah. It will happen, it will come, but it's not forever. So don't be scared. So the trick to figuring this out, right, so that it will help you transition from stage 1 to stage 2 when the music fades away. The trick, right, there are 3 different things you need to keep in mind. Number 1, you need to be very observant of your own behavioral changes. What is changing about you? Secondly, you need to be very observant about how you express love. See, most times, the first way you express love is how you want to receive love. So if every time he's coming back from work and I'm going to him, I'm saying, how is your day? And I want to sit around him and I want, us to just talk and relax. And he's like, oh, it's fine. And he keeps doing his work. Then there's a problem. So when you see that you are exhibiting something, it means that most likely that's what you also want to be exhibited towards you. And then last but not least, this one is a no-brainer. What do you request for the most? For PJ, the problem for us at that time was that I wasn't even requesting. I was just stating the problem. You don't love me. I wasn't even saying spend time with me, because I didn't know that was the problem. If you're not observant, you will not even know what to ask for. So you must be observant. And what is the purpose for all of this? Why is it important? So that you not have emotional stress in your early stage of marriage, right? I've said that over and over again. So that you will have less of an emotional stress and you can avoid clashes. And most importantly, you can transition from stage 1 of emotional love to stage 2 of emotional love. Don't worry, the butterflies are not always going to be there. The music is not always going to be playing, but you're always going to have each other. And that's more than enough. And so you need to be committed when the music fades away. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of Faith Friday. If you're already married, you have more tips you want to share about this matter of when the butterflies stop and when I love you doesn't work anymore. What happens? You can share it with us in the comment section. You can reach out to me on my email address as well. And follow me on social media platforms. Until next time, don't forget to be the best version of you.